let's make no mistake, today we are speaking for the majority of the British population. We spoke for the majority before the vote in Parliament, and as we know, since that vote in Parliament for war, the majority against bombing Syria has steadily increased day by day. And it's no surprise that people are turning against this war, because we know how the government rhetoric on this has changed. When they argued for this war, they said that we had weapons that were so accurate they wouldn't kill civilians. And then as soon as those bombing raids had started, we heard from the government, well, actually, there may be civilian casualties. Those are inevitable in war. So can we be surprised that the majority of the British population is turning now increasingly against war? It's a great pleasure now to welcome our next speaker, Mohammad Kozbar, from the Muslim Association of Britain, an organisation that has a very fine record in opposing war. Welcome, Mohammad.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. No doubt what's happened in Paris a few weeks ago is a horrible thing, is an act of terror, which shouldn't happen to any city in the world. But this does not mean giving the right of governments to go and bomb Syria. This does not justify bombing innocent people in Syria. No doubt this will be more wars for the Syrian people than making peace. Let us ask them, what's left in Syria to be bombed? Nothing left, believe me. What's left in Syria is full of rebels, full of bloods, full of agony for the Syrian people, and definitely this bomb will make it worse. More than 300,000 people got killed so far. Why? Because the Syrian people asked for their basic human rights, asked for their freedom, asked for justice, asked for dignity, which been denied by the brutal regime of Assad and recently by ISIS. We need down, down Assad, down, down ISIS, down, down Assad, down, down ISIS. The two winners of this bloody war will be the brutal regime of Assad and ISIS. And I'll tell you why. ISIS will play the victim role, and they will recruit more young, angry people who are frustrated of this war, who will be spreading inside Syria and outside Syria. And there will be huge consequences on the world. And the brutal regime of Assad will be the other winner, because they will gain more politically and more militarily, and they will kill more innocent people in Syria. This is why we have to oppose this war. We have to oppose it, and it must be stopped. Let me tell you the impact of this war here in the UK. We've seen in the last few weeks how racism and Islamophobia raised dramatically. The report of the police saying that it raised 3 times, and it's getting worse. People thousands will be affected and impacted by this. Individuals and institutions. Let me tell you that Muslim women cannot go and walk in the street anymore, cannot take their children to school. They stop using public transportation because they live in fear, because they think that they are easy target. Institutions like Finsbury Park Mosque, which been attacked 2 weeks ago. But the bright things that we all get together, united to denounce these racists, these extremists, these criminals, and we will tell them the Muslim community are resilient. They will not accept that. They will not let them win over us. We are more determined than ever to oppose this war and to promote community cohesion and harmony among ourselves. And let me tell you, people like Stop the War, United Against Fascism, and people like you who stand with us will not be forgotten. And we will always get together to defeat this disease which is called racism. Finally, what I'll tell you, war creates war. Action creates reaction. Violence breeds violence. What the Syrian people need is not war. They need to stop this war. And what they need their freedom back. They need their dignity back. They need their basic human rights back. For God's sake, let's try our best. Let's try our best to achieve that for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammad. And let me reassure all the brothers and sisters in the Muslim Association of Britain and at Finsbury Park Mosque, which was shamefully attacked a couple of weeks ago, of our continued solidarity in the fight against Islamophobia. And now, brothers and sisters, I have an important message to read out to you all. I want to thank the Stop the War Coalition and all of you here today for standing up against this government's decision to join yet another war in the Middle East, this time in Syria. The anti-war movement has been a vital force at the heart of our democracy. The attacks on it as somehow illegitimate are an attempt to close down democratic debate and campaigning. Stop the War has organised the biggest demonstrations in British history. It has led protests and lobbies in every part of the country, including by military families. Most of all, you have called it right over 14 years of disastrous wars in Afghanistan, Iraq and Libya, when many of your most vociferous critics supported them. A large majority of all parts of the Labour Party, including the membership, MPs and the shadow cabinet, last week opposed this government's determination to extend UK bombing to Syria. Intensifying the war won't protect our security or help the Syrian people. It risks doing the opposite. The only way to beat ISIS is through a negotiated settlement of the Syrian civil war. We in Parliament will hold this government to account for their conduct of the campaign and step up the pressure to bring the conflict to an end. But for that we need your support and campaigning. Thanks for everything you have done, your internationalism and solidarity. We can and will bring these wars to an end. Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party. And let me thank Jeremy Corbyn here, not only for his tremendous leadership of the Labour Party in the House of Commons against the bombing of Syria, but for his support and solidarity for Stop the War. And we were proud to welcome him last night to what must have been the best advertised Christmas fundraising dinner in history.